Hello, and welcome to Working Lunch, Slow Chambers weekly series where we talk with our community leaders to get to know the person behind the position and all the interesting things they're working on. I'm Jim D'Antona, President and CEO of the San Luis Chamber, and today you'll get to hear from Walt Lafky, our founder and CEO of Harvestly Company, a virtual hyper-local marketplace that brings the farmers market right to your door. This Cal Poly startup delivers local farm fresh produce, prepared food, and beverages to your door, making it easier than ever to support local farmers and artisans. After just over a year in business, Harvestly has injected more than $200,000 back into the hands of more than 150 local producers, and their economic impact ripples far beyond that. Centered around health, sustainability, and the local economy, Harvestly aims to change the current food system, empower other businesses, and bring sustainability to food systems globally. I'm so looking forward to learning more about Walt's inspiration, what it's been like to balance starting a company, working for Nasdaq, and finishing up college, and discuss what the future holds for Harvestly. Walt, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Jim. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk about Harvestly and talk about how the Chamber has really helped us over the course of the last year.
It's such a pleasure here. And as we sit down to lunch, kind of first and foremost, where are you zooming in from today?
I'm actually coming in from Orinda, California. I just got back from Bend, where I'm from, 2 days ago, and I'm just here as a Passover on the way back to SLO.
Well, fabulous. And I really appreciate you being here. So maybe tell us a little bit about how you got your start in entrepreneurship. Have you always been interested in technology and problem solving?
Yeah, so I really started working in entrepreneurship when I was about 14 years old. My parents had a property in Northern Oregon that I started a little tomato farm on. I bought $50 worth of tomato seeds and started watering these plants over the course of a summer when I was 14 years old. And from there, I just started growing that business, and I stopped about 3 years later. And at the end of it, I was delivering about 1,000 pounds of tomatoes every week. And kind of from there, entrepreneurship has always felt accessible to me and like I could always do it. So I just kept pursuing that throughout high school, and then also, as you know, in college.
Well, and was your family also have you come from a long line of entrepreneurs? Was your dad, mom into that?
Yeah, my dad and mom, I would say, are entrepreneurs. My dad especially, and then kind of on the agriculture side, he had a degree in from University of Oregon in landscape architecture. So from a really young age, I was getting scientific names of plants grilled into me, and so this passion for plants and food sparked pretty young because of him.
It's so incredible to think about. I know I wasn't building a business at 15. Heck, I don't even think I was building a business at 20. So not many people can obviously say that the company they started in college is just the most recent in a long line of enterprises. Can you take us through some of your, thought process on kind of what interested you there and how it led you to Harvestly?
Yeah, really from the beginning, when I started growing these tomatoes and this food, when I was 14, I developed this passion for really good food and then helping the customer understand where that food was from. At the time when I was 14, I didn't really know anything about marketing or business, but I knew how to grow good food. And so with the product in mind, it really spoke for itself, and it grew a brand. It was called Wally's Tomatoes. And still to this day, when I go back to Bend, people ask me about Wally's Tomatoes, like, where are the tomatoes? So it really developed a brand around that really good product. And kind of as I grew up, I started to see other issues in the kind of broader agriculture system where consolidation was happening, and really a lot of the food that you eat, one, you don't know where it's coming from, but two, it's supplied by some of the same companies that are controlling most of the industry. And they're really good at marketing, they're really good at selling to you, they're good at making it efficient, but the product necessarily isn't the best. And I thought, how can I help other farmers market their products, get their products to the consumer without having them, have to market too much? And it was really just trying to help them get their really great product to the consumer and helping the consumer understand where that product is from.
It's so interesting because here we are, Harvestly is going, but it's grown beyond just kind of produce, right? Was that a purposeful strategy, or kind of a more of a response to the market?
Yeah, to be totally honest, I did not expect it to go beyond produce. When I started it, it was actually called AgriConnect. So it was all about agriculture and getting, food to consumers through this network. And it really surprised me because we launched during the pandemic, like really the first week that Slow shut down. And week after week, we had new verticals signing up. And like we didn't necessarily do this on purpose. They kind of came to us. And at a certain point, probably about 6 months ago, we realized like, hey, you can source almost everything you need locally. So let's get after that. Like, let's continue to build this vendor base so that any local consumer in San Luis Obispo or in San Luis Obispo County can go onto our website and order really anything they need, and they can survive off of purely local food. It was really great to see these different verticals sign up, and it has propelled the business really far. If we would have just stuck with produce, it would have worked, but I don't think it would have grown to the extent that it has now.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I spent time obviously going through when you joined the chamber and starting to understand more of what it was. And certainly we had the eggs and seeing those produce, but it's now there's a like prepared foods and beverages. It's almost like, I think we said in the start, it's like a digital farmers market 24/7. Is that kind of how it feels at this point?
Yeah, and that's definitely the easiest way to explain it. There are a lot of different complicated things going on behind the scenes, and we're really trying to empower these local businesses. It's great, and because basically our hypothesis is if we empower these local businesses to sell, the consumer will ultimately benefit because we're helping these businesses get their product to the consumer. We're very vendor focused, so we're trying to help them the most, but by helping them, it helps the customer. And so over time, it's just been this development of the original project, which was this kind of decentralized marketplace where everybody had equal opportunity to sell and all of these different things. And it ends up that the customer really likes that. They really like the customization. They like to pick and choose. And if we have the infrastructure set up to, handle the food, deliver the food and all of that, then why not get everything we can on the platform?
It's great. It looks like obviously, local farmers, producers, and artisans can apply to be featured on your site, but there has to have been some like strange ones. What's the kind of most unusual pitch you've received or application?
Yeah, I think about 5 weeks ago, we got an application that was for worms. We had to deny that one just because we were a little nervous to put the worms in the bags with the food. But yeah, we get quite a few applications, and it's really unique. There's some products on Harvestly I swear you cannot find anywhere else. 2 or 3 weeks ago we had cherimoyas. I have never heard of a cherimoya, and I don't know where you can buy a cherimoya, but it just showed up on the what's new category on Harvestly. I was like, all right, I'll try it. So it is really unique in that sense.
Well, so you talked about that you launched the business in the early days of that pandemic. What was that launch like, or the first few months like? Did it all go to plan, or were you constantly adjusting?
I never wrote a business plan. It's always been about adjusting and forming to the market. We always, I think about kind of the company as somewhat of a river, and we're always trying to go downstream and follow where the customers and where the vendors are taking us. And early on, I got two farms on. It was Gracious Greens in Arroyo Grande, and then also Pepper Creek Family Farms in Arroyo Grande. And Alvin runs Gracious Greens and Jessica runs Pepper Creek Family Farms. I became really close with them, and I really pitched them on my vision and to help them, and they kind of bought in, and they were like, all right, let's do it. And so I got them on the app and had a few products on there. It was just microgreens and like 3 different types of produce boxes. And I got 10 users on the customer side. And we just started taking orders, like, probably 10 a week. And I had no like money to fund this. And, a lot of it's hard to get someone to invest in a 19-year-old's vision for a new food system. So I was just driving around in my Jeep, fulfilling these orders, going, as soon as we would get an order, I would drive straight to the farm down in AG, pick up the box and drive it straight to the customer. And the customer was always like, wow, this came in like 30 minutes. I have never experienced anything like this. But kind of over time, we have had to adjust to actual scalable solutions that, me driving around in my Jeep throughout the county is not scalable.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd like to dig into that a little. So obviously you're one person, you have the two farms. What does your team look like today? How have you grown in this kind of first 18 months to make this work?
Yeah, and the growth on the team has been really organic. Like people kind of come when we need them. It's been we have never posted a job on LinkedIn or anything like that. It's just been people gravitate towards the company when they see an opportunity. Our current COO, Lars, he LinkedIn messaged me the year he graduated 2 years ago. So he LinkedIn messaged me right before he was going to graduate and said, hey, like, this is a really cool project. I'd love to help you. And he started managing logistics. And just over time, he has stepped into this role where he's pretty much, helping me manage the entire company. And kind of throughout the company, these positions have filled. One of our market manager now here in San Luis Obispo, she started, I want to say 8 months, well, probably more like a year ago, just doing deliveries for us. And slowly she has come into this whole role where she's managing the entire San Luis Obispo County market. So she works with the vendors, she helps fulfillment, and she manages the drivers. So it's just been this transformation from solo me to now we have an entire team building this company.
It's fabulous. And it's so great to hear kind of that organic growth. But now specifically for you, kind of what does a typical day look like, from the day of driving around in the Jeep? What are you focused on now?
Yeah, and so that transition for me has been hard, going from day-to-day operations to kind of more admin work and making sure the company is directed in a good path. My main focuses are kind of what the next 5 years of the company look like. Raising more capital to expand, managing kind of outside stakeholders. So we have an advisory board of 6 people now who I work really closely with. We talk every week, at least with one of them, and kind of steering the boat in the right direction. And then kind of on the people management side, I work with internally, like all the people on the team, and make sure that they're happy and that they feel like they're doing a good thing and all that kind of good stuff.
Well, and thinking about it, in the midst of the pandemic, you're launching Harvestly, you're building this company up. You're finishing up your junior year at Cal Poly. You're also working at Nasdaq, right? So maybe tell us a bit about what you were doing with Nasdaq, and did that help also in kind of focusing you or getting things going for you?
Yeah, so I started working at Nasdaq when I was a freshman out of the San Francisco office. And I started in this corporate sales platform. So I was, helping Nasdaq's public companies kind of I like to say be public. So obviously with going public, you have a lot of different things you have to worry about. So I would help them and work on that team in San Francisco. And over time, I just kind of transformed into new roles. And ultimately, my kind of latest job was helping private companies work with public companies and forming relationships and partnerships there. And 100%, it helped me create this company that I have now. It really gave me the confidence and a lot of the knowledge to run the company, right? It's great that I started a tomato company and sold a bunch of tomatoes, but that's about as a simple business as you can get. And as you add complexity, there's more things going on. And so like people management, learning how to work with people, strategy, marketing, all these things that I didn't know about, through Nasdaq, I've been able to learn a lot in that sense.
Well, it's really interesting to hear. So how are you measuring success now then for Harvestly? Are there key indicators that kind of drive your growth strategy?
Yeah, so we definitely have our list of KPIs, and in that it's average order value, how many orders, revenue, and all those different things. But core to our business is about this empowerment of these local vendors. So every month we look and say, okay, how much money did we pay out to local vendors and how can we grow that number? It's never our goal or our intention to take more from our vendors. We want to give more to them, and kind of, most of our product decisions are geared towards that. How can we make our product better to better help local businesses grow and prosper?
Well, and yeah, I mentioned at the beginning, it's been 1 year for Harvestly, and you're talking about exactly that you've injected more than kind of $200,000 directly into the hands of local producers. How does that, how does your hyper kind of local focus create that even larger ripple effect?
Yeah, I don't really think that any business model works on the same way in comparison to ours for these local vendors, in that like majority of the funds that we generate are going right back into our economy. And these are everyday people running their businesses. It's not big businesses. They're majority, well, all of them are pretty much very small businesses, and they're going straight to the people who run the business. They're going to the families who run the businesses. A lot of them are family run. And so what happens is, they get the dollars and they're going to go spend those dollars somewhere else. And it's all this giant local ecosystem that we've started to stimulate, which at least in the food system has been really hard to stimulate and to create, just because the infrastructure hasn't been there. If you go to a grocery store, great, you go to a local grocery store and there's, maybe there's some local products, but at the end of the day, the typical grocery store model does not return enough dollars to the local producer or any producer, because every single step of the way, someone needs to make a margin. So if we can create this one transition model where it's going straight from the vendor to the consumer, we can cut out a lot of those little margins so we can return a lot more to the producer.
Yeah, I mean, you think about, in the economic discussion of speed of money, as, that money that's getting produced here is staying in here and circulating, is just growing more and more jobs. I think it's really a fascinating discussion, and something that I think COVID has really shown us we need to do to keep our local economy going. That virtuous cycle of kind of supporting local is something obviously we've definitely doubled down on, encouraging over the past few months. So I really appreciate all those pieces that you're kind of talking about. It sounds like what you've really done is you've stripped away that kind of specific industry and create a startup that helps other startups. Do you think launching in the pandemic, when many people were forced to try out new endeavors, has helped kind of hone that focus?
Yeah, I really think that the pandemic gave us a huge opportunities to support these businesses, and it kind of across the board in all sectors, it was a catalyst to open-mindedness, I guess, thinking about projects differently. A lot of people who would have thought that Harvestly was a bad idea said, oh, maybe that is a good idea because of these supply chain issues that have really been brought out during the pandemic. I like to talk about how the problems in the supply chain in agriculture have been present for at least a couple of decades, but the pandemic really put a magnifying glass under the system, and then it broke. So a lot of people say, oh, you came up with this solution because of the pandemic, but that's not true. I knew at some point these systems would start to break and the consumer would want change. But the pandemic was really just a catalyst to create that change. And so on the vendor side, it was really good for us because they started thinking about things differently.
Well, and from your experience that you talked about with the tomatoes as a young man, you talked about helping get some of your local vendors kind of launched. What does it look like to be a Harvestly launch partner? Are you guys there just kind of every step of the way with them helping?
Yeah, and that's been a huge goal of ours, and we've really started to lean into this in that we are helping businesses start. So it's a lot of people, I forget the statistic, but majority of people want to start their own business, but they just have no idea how to. And it can be as simple as planting 50 tomato plants in your backyard and selling tomatoes. It's just that the barriers are so large with understanding. It's like this gap of knowledge. How do you get the permit? How do you get the insurance? How do you get a bank? There's all these blockers that we want to take away. We want to help you handle that. And so what we've seen, at least since kind of leaning into this, is that a lot of people have started businesses with Harvestly. An example is, I don't think she's selling on Harvestly right now, but Ellery's zucchini bread. I think she was 13 or 14. She sent me an email and was applying to be a vendor, and she didn't have any permits or anything. And I emailed her back and I was like, hey, we would love to help you, start your business. Here's how you do it step by step. And about a month later, or about maybe 2 months later, she emailed me back and was like, oh, here's my cottage license. Here's this. Like, she's a real business. And now she's selling like throughout the local county, her zucchini bread, and she's 14 years old. So that was a really cool experience for me. And I think, that happens probably every 2 months or every month for us.
And it really is interesting, because I think that's one of the, like you said, the barriers are so, sometimes folks just don't know how to get past them. And so having the experience that you do, and that's obviously what we do here at the Chamber, is to try and help folks get over, whether it's the city, the county, the state, whoever you're working with. So I truly appreciate that you're launching these folks into probably their dream that, you helped create for yourself, right?
Yeah, totally. It's just balance between purpose and profit. And we think that these people really have a purpose in growing or making food, which we want to enable and empower.
Well, I know that when I first arrived in SLO, I was blown away by the quality of the local produce compared to the grocery store stuff I was getting in LA. Do most of your customers come to you already knowing the advantages of buying local, or do you have an educational aspect to Harvestly to make that connection?
Yeah, so historically, a lot of them have come to Harvestly because they know the value of local. And I will say that as far as educated about local food, SLO County ranks pretty high because we have a lot of food grown here. You can't go on a 15-minute drive and not see a farm in SLO County. And so, we had an advantage there when we launched because a lot of people already kind of knew the value of it. But as we expand into new markets and also kind of increase our density of customers here in SLO, it is moving more towards an educational purpose. Like, what are the benefits of supporting local, and how can you support local, and what is the value in the food sense? Like, how much more nutrition does a tomato grown a mile from you have versus a tomato grown in Mexico that has spent 3 weeks on a truck? So working on that educational piece is going to be part of our next evolution.
That's fabulous. So just looking back at the last 18 months, are there any challenges or unexpected experiences that really stand out in your memory, or moments that you were particularly proud of?
Yeah, I mean, we've had challenges every week. That's just the nature of running a business and definitely starting a business. I think that I can't really think of one that stands out in that sense. But every week we have something that we have to work through.
Well, the fact that you're here after 18 months and growing, I think is obviously credit to all the adjustments you're making in order to kind of meet that, which I think is super interesting. So, when you look to the future, are there any kind of exciting developments on the horizon? Are you looking at different markets or locations outside of SLO?
Yeah, so 2 things on this. Actually, this morning, the Santa Maria Times ran our story that we are opening up Santa Barbara County as of next week. So anybody in Santa Barbara can look forward to ordering local produce from Harvestly, and not just local produce, lots of other things as well. So we'll be opening that market up on Friday next week for Friday delivery. So I think you'll be able to order for Friday. And then building off of that, what we've been doing for the last 10 months is we've been developing our whole entire own platform, which we're rolling out as Harvestly 2.0, which, we are looking to launch that in December. And that has a lot more capabilities for both the consumer and the vendor. We've built it from the ground up with our software team. And I am, and the team is really excited to launch that, because that takes kind of my original vision. And with software, we're able to create that. I don't, Harvestly right now is amazing and it's great, but there isn't some of the core features that I really wanted that I think will enable us to change the food system. And then with Harvestly 2.0, we will be launching into new markets over the course of the next 3 years throughout California and the rest of the US.
Do you see the SLO area and the Santa Barbara area separate, or is that kind of like, should that be kind of one big group that supports each other?
Yeah, so originally I thought that we could split them up. But after more analysis, we believe that they might have to be together just because of the population and kind of the distance. It makes more sense to merge the two markets into the Central Coast market. But this is an ongoing discussion. And, if at some point we say, I think they're big enough on their own, then let's split these up and they'll run independently. But as of right now, Santa Barbara is going to be merged with San Luis Obispo County to become the Central Coast market.
That's fabulous. And part of being a startup and a disruptor is being the first to market. Who or what do you see as competition, or do you see that there is competition, or is there enough for everyone kind of idea?
Yeah, there is competition, out there. It's kind of, we look at online grocery stores as competition, even though it is a different business model, whether they're buying from businesses or whatever local businesses. My vision, I don't necessarily think that there's much competition out there. I have found one company that's doing something similar, but I think with the launch of Harvestly 2.0, we will definitely be spacing ourselves out from anybody who, any company that is any bit near us right now.
Well, I will say, I've been really impressed. I love the idea of more simply being able to connect to local vendors. Obviously we love supporting our local vendors, but being able to track them all down and connect them, I think Harvestly is doing an amazing job at that. So if folks really wanted to learn more about Harvestly, what's the best way for them to find you?
Just head to our website, which is harvestly.co. It's .co, not .com. And, you can go on there and look at our different products, all locally sourced, and you can order for delivery. If you enter in your email, you get 10% off your first order. Or you can check us out on social. We're harvestly.co, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are. You can follow us there.
Well, we'll certainly add it into our chat, the comments below in our Facebook Live here, and folks should just click on it, check on over to that. Already through a half hour, this has been a really interesting conversation, but we always end with one question. Love to know what are you looking forward to this weekend?
Yeah, I got to get a haircut because we are filming our first commercial on Monday with KSBY. So I got to start preparing for that.
Wow, that's fun, exciting. That's super cool for you. And I will say good luck in getting the haircut, especially with all the kids going back to school. I tried, it was a complete mess. It's difficult. But I really want to say thank you so much for joining us today and talking about Harvestly. We see that there's a lot of great opportunities here to work with our local vendors. So appreciate what you're doing here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We love the chamber, and we've been here for probably 10 months now, and we've loved everything that you guys have done for us. So I'm really appreciative of that.
Well, we appreciate it. Everybody check out harvestly.co. We thank you. For those of you watching, thank you so much for eating lunch with us. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. Stay healthy and safe out there. And I will add in from Penny Bornstein, our public health director, please mask up indoors. We need to slow the spread. We need to keep our economy moving forward. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.